So, dude, so the release for Operation Heavy Metal was pretty rough. Well over 24 hours worth of problems related to the servers. As far as I can tell, the R6 API is still down, so the ranked stats aren't refreshing properly. There are always going to be server problems with games. That is a nature of the beast. But usually, voice crack, you want to get on top of that relatively quickly. I can't tell you if an appropriate amount of time to fix something like that is within 2, 3, or 5 hours. I am not a network engineer. However, just because Ubisoft is having issues with their internet does not mean that you have to have issues with your internet, which is why this video is sponsored by Surfshark VPN. Surfshark is a VPN that gamers can get behind. If you don't want John Cena to trace your IP while purchasing the new Valorant skin, Surfshark VPN has you covered. Surfshark gives you the ability to access region-locked games while protecting and controlling your personal data. With powerful encryption and secure and fast protocols that help you surf the web in private. I personally think it's a no-brainer for self-employed people who work on public Wi-Fi quite a bit, such as myself. You can get a 24-month VPN plan and 3 months extra by scanning the QR code on the screen or clicking the link in the description. Just use my promo code, Gregor. Try it for free, and if you don't like it, it has a 30-day money-back guarantee. Remember, you are looking at everything we just talked about for an 83% discount. Surfshark VPN has helped me gaming by making sure Bob54321 in my modded Call of Duty World at War lobby can't geoguess my location. So yeah, thanks again to Surfshark, and back to the commentary. When these season launches go badly, it can really set the tone for a ton of people throughout the next 3 months. And it deals a significant blow to the mental of your customers. And people like me, who make money doing content as well. We anticipate season launches. There is a ton of hype generated at a specific time, on a specific date, and we will usually expect the most amount of traffic for our content within those days. The sooner the better. Right? Exclusivity is a massive bonus, because when people consume the content from other platforms, they're probably not going to consume it again. Right? It's fast food. They eat it once, and they forget about it. They see what they want to see, and they move on. So if they see that the game is having serious engineering problems like this, it puts a bad taste in their mouth. This is why releases from the logistical side, the business end, are so important for live service games. Because without the live service, there is no game. Rainbow Six is a live service game. I believe there are aspects about the design model that are making it difficult to operate in a modern market, and I will talk about them. One of the issues the game has, if you want to call it that, is a pay-to-play model. This is because when it released in 2015, it was still following the market trends at the time. Typically, when it came to first-person shooter games, you paid $60 to play the multiplayer component, but you also got a fully dedicated single-player campaign. It was usually linear, meaning the gameplay was kind of go to point A, go to point B, and shoot. But if you made it fun, nobody cared. If you had a really talented team of creative people, you can make fans of a whole new world, and that had staying power that should not be understated. Gears of War at first may look a bit dated and too directly marketed at guys who listen to Megadeth, but that wasn't a bad thing. And the writing was actually pretty thought out for what it was. And Megadeth's a great band, so Gears of War enjoyed good company. It had a passionate fan base, still has a passionate fan base. The point is, you could get away with selling Gears of War 3 for $60 because you were guaranteeing your customer they would get around 8 hours of at least solid gameplay. If you wanted to think really hard about it, you could say it was like a somewhat expensive movie ticket. So most people didn't hate this model, and this is what worked with dude-pilled shooter games on consoles in the 2010s. It did really well. Now, millennials watching this will remember that Gears of War 2 in particular was notoriously buggy. And the netcode for that game, while it did get better in places, it was infamous throughout many points of its life cycle for lag, crappy hit reg, lots of other things. So we've come a long way. And the way that we looked at it back then was it's okay to spend $60 on a game like Gears or Call of Duty or Halo and multiplayer engineering isn't quite there yet. So if there are issues there, we can make up for it with other things. Call of Duty started adding zombie modes with Treyarch and World at War. Great decision. It set up a lot of things for them moving forward there. Now, there's a thing called competitive multiplayer. Competitive multiplayer was not old yet. It was still a teenager, okay? So Halo 2 came out in 2004. You had Xbox Live. Modern Warfare 2, the game everybody cites as the cradle of multiplayer FPS civilization. That came out in 2008, 4 years after Halo 2. So think about how recent 2019 for Rainbow Six Siege is now. That is the same amount of time. So the difference between Operation Phantom Sight and Operation Heavy Metal is the same amount of time between Halo 2 on the original Xbox and Modern Warfare 2 on the Xbox 360. So there was a ton of innovation for the business model of live service gaming happening already. We just didn't know it yet. And eventually, business people figured out, hey, most people spend most of their time playing the multiplayer anyway. Do we really need to pump that much effort into the single player campaign? And that's why a lot of people don't like the esports component of these games. That's why so many people resent it. They resented that it got attached to Rainbow Six because it started as a series of single player games first and foremost. Siege was the multiplayer 5v5 adaptation of these ideas that had not happened previously. My unpopular opinion is that Siege ended up having an esports scene as a matter of circumstance, just because that was the market trend at the time. That sounds kind of reductive and kind of maybe a little rude, but I don't think it's inaccurate. The building blocks for Rainbow Six started with the single player, like planning, design oriented sorts of games. The esports stuff was around for multiplayer stuff in 2015. So it made sense to approach it from that point of view. I don't think it's fair how much the esports scene gets maligned. I think a lot of the criticism is short-sighted, but that is the reason people feel that way. The vast majority of Siege players do not give a crap about Pro League. That is a fact. Guess what? The mature, adult-aged audience that liked the older Rainbow Six games that may not really care for esports either doesn't go in a YouTube comment section, doesn't go on Twitter, doesn't go on Reddit talking about my Pro League. They just ignore it. They walk away. They do something else. Okay? I was there year one. I remember the community was a million times more mature than it is now. Anybody else who played this game year one remembers too. They can vouch for me. The community for Siege was completely different. Everybody talked. Everybody calmed. People were polite. People were receptive. It was dad-core shooter game fun. It was dad-core shooter stuff. It was for guys who watched Netflix action movies like Triple Frontier. Great fucking movie, by the way. Go watch it if you like that kind of stuff. Most people don't gripe and moan and read into the specifics of the gaming industry. Okay? They talk about it on an Uber ride, which is what I ended up doing. I talked about my job with my Uber driver a while ago, and I mentioned the YouTube stuff. He was like, oh yeah, I played those old Rainbow Six games. He was a pretty big guy, probably former military. He's buff as fuck. Had the high and tight haircut. I'm sure he enjoyed the time of multiplayer gaming he had on Siege, but he found other things in life to do. Right? It wasn't that complicated for him. That is no longer your primary customer base. Now, those guys remember when games were made for the sake of gameplay. And tragically, I believe that is the ultimate reason why Titanfall ended up the way it ended up. Because they had Titanfall 1, which had no single-player campaign. I remember playing Titanfall, the first one, and people clowned me hard for spending money on the first Titanfall. People were mad. Okay, if you think that people complaining about video games is a recent phenomenon, dude, my generation, the millennial dork archetype, the millennial Reddit dork archetype has been around forever. People were pissed. They were mad about Titanfall because it didn't have a dedicated single-player campaign. I remember people were upset. They were like, this is corporate horseshit. They're charging too much, blah, blah, blah. So by Titanfall 2, they said, okay, we had a good idea of what we're trying to do mechanically here. Let's make Titanfall 2 and do a really interesting single-player campaign. And this is where they started cooking because the guys were like, okay, we set the foundation with Titanfall 1. We have a better understanding of what we want to do. We want to push the envelope for the level design here, incorporating the new mechanics that we just learned. And this was the point. This was a really important point in FPS game design, because this was the part where it was starting to become theory. We were talking about game design theory. And this is stuff that's been happening for a while in the back end. This started in the 90s with the Doom clone era. But now we're legitimizing it, and we have a catalog. And we're starting to see this become an art form as much as it is a science. So we can justify a good single-player campaign if we do some interesting shit with it that we cannot do with the multiplayer, because it would be unbalanced in the multiplayer. We can do a time travel mission in the single-player campaign. We can't do that in the multiplayer. That distinction is very important, because the experience you make in one medium is different than another one. The reason people don't like esports is because they believe it is validating a bad implementation of live service. It is giving companies an out to cut corners. Because if the game is solely built from the ground up for multiplayer, you don't have to do anything else. That stifles innovation, that makes for a boring, uninspired game. And these people have a reason to feel the way they feel, but I do think they're looking at it in a short-sighted way, because Titanfall 2 proved you can do both, right? You can innovate with mechanical design, and you can push the envelope in single player, which lets you have a better understanding of what people want from a competitive point of view in the multiplayer. Now, the issue is that you cannot make the multiplayer too hard. Titanfall 2 was here for a bit and was about to break free of the gamer bro bullshit hot take, all right? Hot take that a lot of people are not going to like. Here I go. Ready for this one? So, Titanfall 2 didn't fall out because it was a bad game. Titanfall 2 didn't fall out because of the release date. Titanfall 2 fell out because people were not ready for it and they couldn't fucking hang. That's where the esports component started to get blamed for everything. Because suddenly people started spending money on a game, and instead of expecting a single player campaign with a multiplayer component, and if you're good at it, if you're bad at it, like, nobody cares. When the esports stuff started to go into full swing, people started to buy the game and they expected dopamine from a multiplayer experience. And if you're ass, you don't get that dopamine because you lost. So we literally started selling the experience of winning a competitive match. We made that into a product. That experience became a product. And Titanfall 2 was doomed from the start, because the only people who ended up playing it and really enjoying it was a select audience, a select group of people who could hang. And it alienated two audiences. It alienated the COD bro douchebag who didn't want to bother learning the new shit because they sucked at it. And it alienated normal people because the mechanics were pretty involved and complex. We just started making games for losers. Like, we made games for losers. This is not a joke. This is what I really think started happening. We had movement shooters in general. We had that Titanfall copying phase with some of the Call of Duty games. And we were like, okay, let's really innovate here. Let's try to make this into a mainstream thing that a lot of people can get behind, because Titanfall has a market. It's very specific, but let's try to make it more popular. We have basketball with guns and jetpacks. That's fucking sick. And then we lost it overnight. We lost it overnight. All it took was the Modern Warfare 2019 reboot. The jetpacks were gone. Hey, we have fast-paced Twitch movement again. Okay, whatever. Then we slowed it down, right? Because we thought that we were going back to the esports thing, right? Because we were told this is ruining the competitive side of it. The jetpacks are ruining the competitive side of it. Okay, let's make it more competitive. Let's get rid of reload canceling. No, not like that. And so we're stuck. Like, we're stuck on this treadmill. We're not able to move forward and take the good elements from the competitive esports stuff and the fun creative elements from the mechanical point of view, because we want this very specific idea of what this product is. We don't know what the product is anymore. We're just selling the concept of it. We're selling the specific chemical reactions that happen in someone's brain when they play it. We're not selling a game anymore. We're selling a feeling. And that's fucked up. That's where the industry is starting to really fuck up. And that was the mistake Call of Duty made. They made a classical error. They tried to please everyone, and now they're pleasing nobody. because they thought they were getting good feedback on the jetpack stuff a while ago, and they didn't realize that they were arguing with 14-year-olds on Reddit that don't know what they want. Most FPS gamers are young men and boys, age range between like 13 to 21. Gamers do not think about it as hard as we do. All the stuff that I'm talking about, you guys are subscribed to this channel because you like hearing me ramble about stuff. You guys are a little bit more mature. I think you are a more mature audience. But most gamers aren't. Right? We're not demanding a lot. We're not demanding a lot of challenge from these products we're consuming. This is entertainment that is consumed, and the companies give it to people because they buy it. Now, I bought into the Titanfall idea early because nobody was doing a live service quite like this. This was a unique live service thing. So I thought the price was fair. This right here, the interaction of movement and gunplay and the Titans, was a huge selling point for me. The point is, people will spend money on a live service game as long as it is a good live service, as long as it is working, as long as the experience you are selling is novel and interesting. Okay? Make no mistake about it. If Siege didn't have the complexity and uniqueness it had from ground up, this game is donezo. Dude, this game is dead in the water. I believe that for a fact. Okay? If it didn't have destruction, prep phase, intel gathering, unique operator interactions, all of it, this game is done. Because you still have to pay money to play it. Now, it's not a lot of money, but it's still a barrier. So when you pay money to play the game, and the game doesn't freaking work, there is no single player component to play, this is what you get. You're paying to play Quick Match 2.0 with changes you didn't ask for. You're paying to play Unranked, which was turned into Standard with changes you didn't ask for. You're paying to play Ranked, which has cheaters. More cheaters than most FPS games. I heard Apex has it really bad too right now, so hey, whatever. But hey, you know what game is free and doesn't have cheaters? Valorant. You know what game is free and kept the servers up for a new season drop? Valorant. You know what game is free and completely botched their public relations by canning an entire project that they spent 3 years of marketing on? Overwatch. You could have bad and good products in this space. Okay? Not all of them are the same. You know what game is about to take back the throne of live service multiplayer? Counter-Strike 2. Its reputation precedes it. If I can't play Siege, then I can play Armored Core. I can play the new Bethesda game. I can play the new Elden Ring expansion when it comes out. Are you starting to see what I'm talking about? Do you see how difficult it is for Siege to compete without going free to play right now? Because the game is treated like a free-to-play game. But it is not free-to-play. This is not sustainable. I get it. If you go free to play, it's probably going to be Cheater City. You have to figure it out. I don't envy Ubisoft. I don't think the community does a great job of making it easier for them either. I feel like it's important for your mental health if you're working at Ubisoft to not spend a lot of time on Twitter, to not spend a lot of time reading comments. I am not good at that. I'm doing a better job of it, but it's a common theme that I hear. It's a common theme that I read from people who are working at Ubisoft, who've moved to other projects, and as soon as they see community drama, they'll say things like, I'm glad I'm not working on this project anymore. Working on this project made me want to pull my hair out. There was no winning. That is a sentiment I see often. And that's cyclical. If the devs are irritated with the community and the community is irritated with the devs, it's kind of a toxic relationship. And we're going to get a worse product. But we got to think really hard about what we're selling. If we can't provide a standard of multiplayer service that is competitive with games like Val, games like CS, the prognosis is just not good. I'm not saying the game is going to die. I'm just saying we're going to lose a lot of money. And I know that we tried to do Extraction and that bombed. Hot take. The Alien thing killed that game before it even dropped. They could have made one of the best co-op shooters ever, and it still wouldn't have mattered because the Alien thing was just, it was too much. Too much. First impressions matter. The box art matters. The marketing matters. That's why we're doing the Dymo stuff. Because all of this is important. This is the fantasy. This is the art. This is what you're selling. Siege could 100%, in my opinion, do a single player campaign for $30, maybe $20. But we're probably, we're probably not going to get it for a long time because there's going to be no convincing the guy in a suit on the 20th floor at Ubisoft Paris or wherever that decision is made that this is a good idea because Extraction turned out the way it did. And it sucks, but like that's just the reality of it. I think if you made a campaign that ran you about 12 hours, right, it would be a difficult sell. But it's not impossible because it worked back in 2008. Some people compared the amount of playtime in a game like Modern Warfare 3 to a game like Skyrim, and some people claim the amount of content you got from a big game like Skyrim made the purchase worth more. This was an apples to oranges comparison. Siege has a robust multiplayer, but it needs to do more than what it is currently offering, because if the live service component is not working, we have to have a serious sit down and go, okay, cuz, what's going on? Do the FromSoft model. Look at what they've done there. Their second team was working on bangers next to Dark Souls. They made Sekiro. They just put out Armored Core 6. Bangers. Great games. Hire creative people. Hire talented creative people. Just make a good game. Make a good game and people will buy it. Right? Japan figured this model out ages ago. I call it the let 'em cook model. Right? If you hire a good art team, if you hire good writers, if you hire a good music composer, I know that corporate fucks don't pay attention to that stuff. That's because they're finance bros. Guess what? Finance bros just drove Activision Blizzard into the dirt. Okay? Having a nice suit and tie and a business degree from an Ivy League school doesn't mean you know a damn thing about how to run a creative company. The esports stuff kind of coalescing the way it is right now, in my opinion, is good, and it was kind of inevitable because there were too many cooks in the kitchen. 5v5, plant the bomb to win, started with Counter-Strike, and it's never going to get a lot better than that. And I can tell you guys stories. I can tell you guys stories about these trust fund kids who watched Moneyball once, and they think that they can move and shake in this Siege esports scene like they're the manager for the Boston Red Sox, and they're completely full of shit. Crappy negotiation skills, bad offers, people aren't getting paid. Why does nobody take Siege esports seriously? Because it doesn't take itself seriously. There isn't enough oversight, and there isn't a lot of enforcement of professional standards that happen in any other kind of entertainment industry, especially sports. And I'm not trying to moralize here. I'm just saying that it is bad business. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what 5 million IQ controversial take an Ivy League student has to say about the Overwatch situation. That situation was bad business. That was incompetent business. You do not spend 3 years of marketing and budget on a product and then go JK when the only reason you were making the sequel, Overwatch 2, was to promote the co-op mode. That is an L. You took an L, you lost, you failed. Skill issue. I don't care how many degrees you have from Harvard. I don't care what the guy on the 5 millionth floor knows that I don't. You fucked up. And these people know it. And they want you to say, oh, it's all about money, man. When these companies fuck up like this, they want you to think that there was some kind of 5 million IQ strat going on there. Like they were playing the long game and then circumstances turned out in a certain way and they anticipated it. No, these guys don't know what they are doing. They do not have creative experience. They do not understand how to join hands with the creative and the business component of these products. Look at Infinite Warfare. People are still talking about Infinite Warfare's campaign. Hire creative, passionate people. Your product will be better. Take a year off from Call of Duty. Take a year off, reset. Go without the cash for a year. I know. I just don't get it. What do these people think is going to happen? They're going to go without 3 Lamborghinis? Instead, they'll only have 2 Lamborghinis? Huh? My guy, you already know people are going to consume your product. You have a demand for this product. You've proven it. You don't think people are going to spend money on a Call of Duty if you just wait a year or 2 years? You really think people wouldn't have played the Overwatch competitive mode as you marketed it, as you described it? You think people wouldn't have liked that? You think that was a bad sell? Are you fucking crazy? Are you out of your mind? Are you dumb? That's what makes it so confusing, watching it from the outside in. Like, you would think at a certain point, these people would go, oh, wait, I'll make more money in the long term here. That's why From Software is so successful, because they understand in a creative medium, if you just make good product, people will buy it. Just make a good game. Anyway, I think live service is heading for a cliff or a black hole bomb or something. I don't know. I just don't think it's sustainable. I think people are going to realize eventually, hey, wait a minute, I can play something else. And I don't blame them, because that's what I think they should have been doing anyway. That's what I've always told people. I said, don't buy the freaking shiny, stupid crap in Overwatch 2. And then I got roasted for it. And I was like, okay, they'll keep doing it because you keep giving them an incentive to do it. But gamers are mostly teenagers, so, you know, good luck with that. Thank you for listening to what I had to say. I'll try to do more videos like this in the future. People seem to like them, so that tells me everything I need to know. Once again, this video was sponsored by Surfshark VPN. Get 3 months free, plus a money-back guarantee on the gamer's choice of virtual private network companies. Use the QR code on your screen or click the link in the description. Use my code Gregor. Remember, you are getting 83% off of what we're talking about here. I would like to do more commentary videos like this. Sometimes we get clips that don't exactly translate well to shorts, but I don't want to throw the footage away. So if this is a decent way to repurpose it, in my opinion, and use every part of the buffalo, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Thanks again for watching. Deuces.